Thank you, John, for the invitation to give a short presentation here today, and good afternoon to everybody. So we've been talking about the aging population most of these 2 days, and here are some statistics just to make you start worrying by now. There are 10 hip fractures every day in New Zealand. About 1/3 will go into assisted care, and the rest suffer reduced mobility, independence, and pain. The monetary cost is more than 200 million, and the human cost is huge. Joint health, of course, at least 360 million sufferers worldwide. This would be mostly osteoarthritis, which is the most common of these health problems. 100 million sufferers in China, 20 million in India. It affects 25 to 50% of people over 60 years old. Highest rated cause of work loss in the US. Estimated to shorten life expectancy by 10 to 15 years. Projected 20% increase in the number of sufferers over the next few years. And that hangs around the obesity problem as well, because of course it's a wear and tear disease. And then muscle. Sarcopenia is defined as a decline in walking speed or grip strength associated with low muscle mass, and sarcopenia leads to loss of mobility, function, falls, and mortality, and of course can increase the risk of fracture. So what are the type of foods that we need? Really easy. The biggest food would be milk that contain most of these, but we don't all drink milk for our health. So of course, we do need to maintain bone health, the minerals, the vitamins, the vitamin D specifically in milk, and protein for bone health. Protein is necessary for the collagen synthesis, mineral for calcification, vitamin D and vitamin K for absorption and calcification. And then for supporting joint health would be anti-inflammatory, of which omega-3 oils is a good source, and then support of cartilage for joint health, so anti-inflammatory. Then extracts from seafood, such as glucosamine, have become quite popular as a supplement. So of course it's not a food, but it is quite effective as a supplement. And then antioxidants like fruit and vegetables. There's been some work around cherries, for example, tart cherries and osteoarthritis. And then, of course, around muscle, there would be protein to maintain muscle structure and function, especially in the elderly, where a small amount of extra protein per day can make a big difference in muscle as well as in bone health and bone strength. And then foods that can maintain fitness and adaptability for mobility, and that again is for the younger generation. So what are opportunities in New Zealand? Because we have these vast sources of natural foods that we can use. So novel dairy protein blends together with novel lipids, maybe from dairy, maybe from another source. Novel fruit extracts from New Zealand varieties, berry fruit, grapeseed, cherries. Kiwi fruit, which are being grown by Planter Food, new varieties coming through. Apples and citrus. Novel marine peptides, which we may work on. Prebiotics, other sources such as Manuka honey, of which we've shown has a prebiotic effect, at least in a mouse, and some bone effects. And then, of course, the glucosamine and collagen in a food matrix for joint health, but there are regulatory issues in those because it is not a food anymore once those have been added. And then maybe synergies between proteins, protein blends with fruit and lipids. So all of these could be a combination of nutrients and foods that can support both bones, joints, and muscles. So these are just examples. The clinically proven aniline. Friesland has a mobility product called Physical Mobility, and you can see it just contains calcium, vitamin D, vitamin C, and some protein. And then there's the high calcium from NOAA with glucosamine and chondroitin and collagen and elastin. And then there's a glucosamine chondroitin MSM supplement. And then joint juice has been in the market for a very long time in the US. It must be successful because it is still there, and it contains glucosamine and vitamin C. We've done some work with kiwi fruit, so we've talked a lot about kiwi fruit in this meeting, and now bones as well. So we've done work on cell culture using the bioactives from kiwi fruit, looking at carotenoids and bone cell culture and showed that it reduces bone resorption. In a pig digestibility study, which was not around bone health but more around protein health, we have showed that the kiwi fruit increased the digestibility of calcium, so the pigs were fed for 3 weeks. And then in mice, over 8 weeks, we fed them freeze-dried green and yellow kiwi fruit. And the sham mouse would be the normal mouse. The OVX mouse would be the one where the ovaries are removed to be postmenopausal. And then you can see that the resorption, Rankel is a marker or molecular marker for resorption, is reduced by green kiwi fruit and not by the gold. And then we finished this whole series of work by feeding women isoflavones with or without green kiwi fruit. And we had a significant effect on one of the bone markers, which indicated a change in bone formation, possibly. And it could be due to vitamin K or vitamin C. We haven't gone further with this work, but it's quite exciting. But now we, of course, will associate kiwi fruit with bones. This is just an example of fortified milk. So you know that the Andin had the clinical claim, and that was when John was still doing research. And then we've done further work on bone health using bone markers. So in Asia, bone markers, which are measured over 3 or 4 months instead of bone density, which is measured over a year or 2, are now being used for clinical claims. So they have been approved for the Andin products in few of the Asian countries. And this is just an example of the last trial we did in Malaysia, where the CTX, which is a bone resorption marker, was compared in 2 groups, the fortified milk versus normal milk, and we still had a significant effect by the fortified milk, and it improved vitamin D status. We've done some work around joint health. The markers that I'm showing here, one marker, the marker at the bottom on the right is a formation marker for cartilage. The one above is a degradation marker for cartilage. And these substances that we tested was in healthy young women that just ran, so they were worried well. And we could show in this healthy population that we could affect these joint markers, so which means the opportunity in an elderly and slightly osteoarthritic population may be possible. And there may be some opportunities to get health claims around these. Dairy protein and muscle mass. So protein has been associated with muscle mass, mostly in epidemiology studies. There's been a lot of work done on intervention studies using other proteins, whey protein, for example, as well, and amino acids. But the intervention studies, usually in younger populations, have not shown long-term effects, and especially in older populations, you may see a protein effect, but you may also have to increase exercise in this group. So Plant and Food have a number of models, which I hope they don't use on an elderly population, because if you look at the rowing model, oxidative stress, the muscle damage models, 2 of them, repeated squats up to failure, 100 single leg raises, and then running. I won't even get off the machine. And so they've looked at berries and recovery. In the top graphs, you can see that after one consumption of berries, over days after, markers of muscle damage are still reduced in comparison to the control. And in the bottom graph, they have continued consumption, and you see that over time, the muscle recovery is faster, so the purple dots. You can exercise harder, therefore, with berries, and it can maintain fitness and mobility. Just to touch on one of the contestable round funded projects, which is in mobility. You said there's nothing. There is. This one is there. So this is a collaboration between Cawthron. Cawthron is the leading research institute for this. Matt Miller, who sits here, there, is the science leader. We have Sanford as the industry partner, and Sabrina Tan is here with us as well. And she actually has started making product. Last night I could smell one of the products that we are supposed to feed to the animals. And then we have Massey, of course, myself and Fran Walber, who will look after students and rats and cells and things, and a clinical studies group who are in Christchurch, who will do the bioavailability studies. And so we will increase the value of green shell muscle-based food export products, and we will determine the effect of green muscle products on bioactives on joint and bone health and reducing inflammation, and Cawthron Institute and Sanford Business are leading this research. So we have 4 objectives: to characterize known and novel active components from the mussels using high throughput analytical capability, which will be at Cawthron; demonstrate the efficacy with food ingredients using in vivo and in vitro models, which will be done at Massey; and then objective 3, to do targeted consumer-focused functional formulated foods containing the ingredients and develop an anti-inflammatory activity index to assess the efficacy of these foods. And then lastly, to determine the nutrikinetics and the bioavailability, oral bioavailability of these fatty acids from whole mussels, mussel extracts, and novel functional foods in humans. Thank you very much for your attention.